Where do I even begin with this? Yes, it is true. Coca-Cola now have officially brought us into the next era of what is going to be the commercial industry from now on. Get on board because it's unstoppable now. Coca-Cola have made, actually, a fully AI-generated advert. The new postmodern humans are optional era of creation is here. And of course, this sparks so many red flags in so many directions. I actually cannot believe we've made it to this point. I mean, like, I knew eventually someone was gonna make a fully AI-generated advert, but Coca-Cola? Like, really? One of the most profitable companies of absolutely all time. The actual king of profiting off of business. The company that legitimately probably makes billions upon billions of dollars. That's the company that wants to cut short paying human beings. I am so distraught on the fact that this is the first Christmas video of the year I'm making, and we're talking about full AI generation. What you're seeing on screen, if you aren't already in the know, is fully AI generated. Or at least, you know, majority AI. I wouldn't be surprised if they did some actual editing to make the Coca-Cola logo look like a Coca-Cola logo, since AI can't write yet. But this is really the marker of the end days. This format of a Coca-Cola Christmas advert as well is part of a franchise, if you want to call it that. The Holidays Are Coming commercials is a cultural centerpiece for a lot of people and the Christmas season. Being a whole set of adverts started since 1995, they all have, you know, this general look. There is the big Coca-Cola truck, maybe a big Coca-Cola train, Santa Claus, you know, shows up, shares around Coca-Colas. We all go, oh, hey, we love capitalistic consumerism. Call it a day, make billions of dollars, move on, have a Christmas family fun time. But to turn this into AI is just betrayal in every direction. There are so many families out there that mark specifically the release of the yearly Coca-Cola Christmas advert as the marker for the beginning of the Christmas season. The moment of, hey, let's get into the spirit of Christmas. And now, there is no spirit anymore. Literally a soulless re-rendition, the most cliched, mixed together version they could come up with nary a single person properly paid for their skill set. Notice how when we're showing the full AI generated version, the shots are shorter. Probably because give it more than 2 seconds and each one of these shots probably melts down into a blobby AI mess. Now, as someone who's seen the slow advent of AI sort of come along and make its mark known, I can very much easily see what makes this AI generated. You know, the polar bears might look like polar bears, but just the way they move, you know, every AI has that same motion of turn slightly to the side. But to me as well, I think it really says something that they've actually included a shot of humans in this advert. To just outright say, we're not going to even pay actors anymore to smile for brand anymore. Keep the humans equally as soulless as the corporation that inherited this brand. A notable feature of all of these Holidays Are Coming commercials is the fact that Santa Claus appears, and now Santa Claus doesn't appear. Who needs him? Just show off his hands. It's a miracle it actually looks like hands this time. Now, this advert came out 2, maybe 3 days ago now, and like, there is somewhat of a backlash, but it will never be enough. Let's be honest here. This is a marker that this is going to be here to stay now, and it's... I am so deeply disappointed by this. And to be fair, I'm not entirely surprised. I'm just surprised it happened so quickly, to be honest. The way I see it, a lot of the older generation will witness this and not even notice it's AI. Fair enough, you sort of have to have a certain eye to it. It is getting surprisingly realistic. You can tell if you can tell, you can't if you can't. Middle-aged people, maybe it's a 50-50 on whether they can tell or not. Fine, it's all a media literacy thing anyway. But more notably, what I was sort of expecting to be the trajectory for AI-generated schlop is the younger generation that are going to grow up surrounded by this aren't going to care about whether it is creatively genuine, right? If you're growing up surrounded by this stuff, I think you wouldn't care if that stuff exists, because it always has from your perspective. I kind of thought it would take another generation for people to be like, it's there, I don't care. Everyone else will be like, no, this is terrible, don't show me this. But no, I think this is happening a lot faster. I think the unfortunate case is there is a relatively small element of the population, the real artsy-fartsy creative people that have a semblance of an opinion about art, that reject this, and then you're either too unaware to actually care, or you will be so fully engrossed in it that you won't care instead. And even if there is a large amount of backlash coming out about AI-generated content, I think it will always end up being the case, especially now, that the corporations just don't care anyway. The fact that this is being done by the Coca-Cola, the multi-billion, probably trillion-dollar company at this point. They are, you know, I've said it before, they're literally number one. They specifically can't be shot down for this AI-generated stuff. I think they are unboycottable, you know? They can get away with saving multi-millions of dollars making this advert in the first place. And with it now, all sorts of other companies are probably also going to follow, because if we let Coke get away with this, and they will absolutely get away with this, everyone else will start doing it, and they'll get away with it too. Now, who is it we can blame for an AI-generated Coke movie? All sorts of people. Everyone higher up in this corporation to some regard, of course, will have had to have passed hands on this to be made, each individual platforming it one way or another. But we do actually have a spokesperson to defend this commercial this time around, in the form of Javier Meza, who is the EU Chief Marketing Officer at Coca-Cola. First of all, coming out and saying that AI was not the initial plan. They didn't come out to just make an AI advert because screw you. Specifically, the way they go on to justify it is, the brief was, we want to bring holidays are coming into the present, and then we explored AI as a solution to that. Simply enough, they say it's just, this is the modern world, screw you, we're just keeping up with the times. Forget artistic integrity, forget the spirit of Christmas, human spirit, soul, unneeded, brand, that'll do it. Funnily enough, in fact, completely ironically to that last point, another spokesperson went on to say, it demonstrates Coca-Cola's commitment to embracing innovation, leveraging our collaborations with top creative and technology partners while staying true to its core values, spreading happiness and creating real magic. Ironic! I don't see anything fucking real here. And look at all the happiness this advert's bringing out. Ha! Now listen. Not everything AI related is always necessarily the worst thing in the world, right? I think AI as a buzzword is very much something that's skyrocketed in places where it's not even needed. It's kind of replacing the word algorithm or anything remotely requiring processing power. I technically have AI work involved in every video I've released in the last year, in the fact that I have a plugin that automatically cuts out the gaps between my pauses in recording booths. So if you've ever noticed I don't typically breathe in, probably because I use some sort of plug-in to automatically cut it out. You know, it's not exactly taking away someone's job. There's not a job of someone specifically cutting out the breathes in. It's my job to cut out the breathes in. I'm cutting out my own job. You know, it's just, the difference with that is it's an AI tool built for efficiency within a pre-existing job. This AI generative content is directly replacing people's jobs and just filling the void so that someone at the top gets to spend even less money for their work. Hey there, thank you for making it halfway through this video. Do subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know if you want me to talk about commercials more. Maybe this is a new genre I can cover on this channel. Anyway, I'll let you get back to the rest of us angry rambling about Coca-Cola AI crap. At a time when economically, globally, it is looking terrible, we got inflation making prices extortionate, like in the UK, we've got a lovely cost of living crisis. Hey, US, look forward to yours soon. And then from an actual physical element, we have shrinkflation taking over every product, where everything's more expensive and somehow tinier. Oreos are bloody tiny from when they started, and don't get me started on bloody Toblerone. So to see that when things are so much more expensive and we're getting less per thing, now as well, actual jobs are just being completely replaced by robots is just so unendingly disappointing. Especially from a brand like Coca-Cola that could have easily been the bastion of, hey, let's do things right and ethically for once. It's interesting as well, because actually the only other brand that particularly jumps out to me this current Christmas is Oreo, of all things. Maybe not nearly as on the same level as actual Coca-Cola. Massively different in profit success, but Oreo, at least locally here, has completely exploded as they've had an interesting Christmas campaign of rolling out 1 million Oreo collaborations and tastes that somehow shouldn't work, but so far have every time. They've released a gingerbread Oreo that apparently surprisingly works, as well as cans of, ironically, oh look at this crossover, Oreo mixed with Coca-Cola Zero, which I actually surprisingly like. It tastes just like a Coke float. And I think it just goes to show, as much as that one is also Coke to a certain extent, just the ways in the modern world how you can present a Christmas campaign in a far more ethical manner. One is cutting corners, making less work for yourself by AI generating a robot to do something for you that would otherwise create so many jobs and allow people to actually afford the food they're buying. But no, cut them out early on and save yourself a buck. Or actually put in some extra work yourself and explore your brand to developing new experiences and new products for consumers to enjoy. This is a very niche example. I don't think Oreo's doing a million crazy things, and probably as well have all sorts of unethical things attached to the brand if I looked into it more. But that's the kind of direction I would like to see more corporations do, you know? Explore with your brand and make good stuff, hiring new people for new experiences. This is just like... This is endgame stuff, you know? We're raising prices, shrinking product size, and now culling out jobs and the enjoyment factor of what is otherwise just more corporatism. It's just consume product. How have you screwed up consume product at this point? And with this now being so set in stone in the middle of its cultural centerpiece, this is only the start of the end. I've already heard around that there are fully AI-generated movies. I thought there was an AI-generated movie a little early on. It was just an unfortunate art style and poster design. And while I personally don't think a full AI-generated movie is really going to pop off, maybe as a short film at most, but like I think it's more of a gimmick than an actual selling point. Maybe more of an integration between AI and, you know, actually designing something that functionally can type a word out. Even then, I'm hesitant. I feel like they're more on the level of NFT movies, if that makes sense. But at least on the commercial advert front, I can fully see AI just completely taking over. A lot of these things are already pretty uncanny valley and soulless with the way they make their actors act, so just outright removing the actors makes sense to me. Now, ironically enough as well, I was actually at one point part of a production company that would work on commercials. It's actually what I did with my film degree a little bit, with my film collection of friends. Again, as well, it was very much just a freelance company that would be approached to do commercial work for other corporations. So while it's not directly removing jobs within Coca-Cola to make an AI advert like this, it's just deleting an entire business model for something that I think will always get a little bit of backlash, but will slowly be a quietened voice as it just becomes the forced upon us norm. And especially as AI is only getting better and better, at some point it will be hard to notice. It's funny, in the Coke ad, there is a tiny little text that says, hey, this was made by some AI model, haha. We ain't gonna notice. No one ever reads the fine print in these things. And one day I too will be too old to even notice that something's not real in the first place. It really is, I think, emblematic of the new era that we are now moving into as a weird dystopian technological world that we are in. We've got strikes ongoing or past from all sorts of quadrants on it, whether it's voice actors or actors. Now maybe the commercial district will do it. Is there a union for commercialism? I don't know. It's more of a US thing than a UK thing. Of course, as well, on the wider political scale of things, obviously, corporation regulations will be getting more and more lax, and maybe it's a little bit better here in the EU. But I mean, this Coca-Cola representative is part of the EU branch, so, you know, I guess they get away with it there as well. And whilst once upon a time, the holidays are coming, Christmas Coca-Cola advert commercial could be seen as the bastion of the true spirit of Christmas incoming. Now it is step one in the future of soulless, branded cyberpunk dystopia, really. Like, this feels like an origin story for a real dystopian cyberpunk world that we're yet to roll into. That's honestly how I feel about it now. I have like a headcanon, a prediction, I guess, if you will, of like future content creators and general people probably going more into hiding and leaning more into an incognito identity. Because as well, with the advent of AI and now AI face recognition being a thing that's probably only going to develop worse and worse, I can see us getting to a point where maybe for the next generation, hiding your identity online will become the norm again. Unlike our generation of schmucks that had entire Facebook accounts, I feel like we're going to go back into that. Everyone's going to become a VTuber or something in the hopes of hiding away from otherwise having your face plastered onto this kind of AI-generated schlop. I don't know. I genuinely have never felt more like a hermit under a rock after seeing this is actually being presented on the biggest stage at a pivotal cultural point of the year. I don't know, man. I don't know necessarily whether adverts and commercials is necessarily a genre my audience would be interested in hearing about, and especially on the AI front. Clearly, I have a lot of opinions when it comes to AI and commercialism. I did not expect to be talking about this for over 20 minutes, at least in the recording booth. But I wanted to get out at least one more distraught voice out there, because as I said way earlier on in the video, there will never be enough backlash for stuff like this. I'm a big fan of the artsy-fartsy stuff, and so to see an absolute takeover like this, so blatantly soulless and actively damaging to, you know, people's lives to a certain extent, I wish the world could be better, but we're just falling deeper and deeper into hell, it seems. As someone who keeps a strong eye on the creative industry, it's a shame to see it falling down another step. And unfortunately, with a corporation like this, I just think Coca Cola is too big to boycott. So this is the new norm. Welcome to the new era, everybody. Let's only hope that Pepsi comes out with a big point about they would never make AI-generated crap. To be fair, in the argument between Coca Cola and Pepsi, I was always a Dr. Pepper fan. Please, Dr. Pepper, don't do anything too unethical. Have you already done it? What's happened? Oh god, Dr. Pepper's just a subsidiary of Coca-Cola. No! Well, on that dreadful dystopian note, I'm gonna finally end it off there. I've rambled way too long about AI, and I don't even know if this kind of video will do well. It's a complete throw out in the dark as a reactionary thing to something I saw on TikTok and Instagram. Such is life. For now, my name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video. Do please tell me your rambling, angry monologues about AI-generated content. Maybe you defend it. Try. Otherwise, let's just talk about it. I want to know I'm not the only one screaming out in the void about this. Anyway, and I shall see you in a little bit.